Welcome back to TomGirl. I am here with Black Hollywood Live producer and host extraordinaire, Daryl Kristen. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
It's crazy about a shop dress man. All right, you were the easiest person to come up with the intro theme song for because you are the most sharp-dressed man that I know.
That is a hell of an introduction. I mean, I feel like I should just be like, doing something with it.
You can whip it
just
around.
Whip it around up in here. We're going to start off like that. Well, I got to ease into that, JJ. The clothes aren't coming off quite yet.
Dang it, I got to warm him up a little, apparently. Get some drinks in here.
Get some drinks. Cocktails.
All right, Daryl, where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Daryl Kristen on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And you guys can follow the show here at TomGirl TV. Okay, we're going to dive right into it because we're going to do a jam-packed little shorter show for you tonight. So first, let's go back in the day and talk about how you first got into the hosting entertainment world.
Wow, it seems so far long ago now. I started out, I've always worked in entertainment in some capacity. Even in college, I went to Ohio State, I have to say that.
Time out.
Bucks.
Why and the? Like, do you have to say it every time?
I mean,
I'm a Nebraska girl and you guys annoyed that.
I know. It's just a part of our prestige. We want people to, you know what it is? Also, there's other Ohio schools like OU. So we want to, show the distinct difference between that school and our school. But
okay, go ahead.
So I started off at Ohio State, and I actually had a radio show called Burning the Midnight Oil. So I would be on Saturday nights, giving a little, trying to get a little sexy voice, which was probably corny. But so I had that show, and I just always loved just being in front of the camera and just like doing radio. And my major actually in college was something totally different. I was marketing and accounting, and my parents were like, listen, we know you want to get in entertainment, but just make sure you have something to fall back on. So what I would do is I just would do radio shows. I was also on the campus newspaper, The Lantern, and I would interview, the local celebrities, the local athletes, and just loved it. Started interning in Vibe in New York, and what ended up happening was I was working actually in the events department, and they had a show called The Vibe Show, and there was a host that was supposed to do the correspondence work for the show for all the celebrities that were coming in, and that person couldn't make it. So they're like, Daryl, you talk to everybody. Will you do it? I was like, sure. First person I interviewed was Mariah Carey, and it just reminded me. Yeah, and we had such a great rapport that it just reminded me to just go, this is the lane I want to be in. And so I was, with everything else, you always have to build your craft, and I was doing other things while I was still building that. Like I would work all day and I would go out at night and do interviews, or wherever it would be in New York. And then I had an opportunity to come out here, and LA is where you really want to be at for a lot of things with hosting and entertainment. So I was blessed enough to meet you. I took a class, Marky Costello's class, where we started, and which was a great learning tool for me. And then started working at AfterBuzz, and then one thing led to another. I met Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. We decided to create Black Hollywood Live, and just honestly, since being blessed with meeting Maria and Kevin, has just really my career just been amazing because of them. It's just one thing's led to another. I have a show on the Reels channel now. I have, I do a lot of red carpets. I tell people all the time, stick with what you want to do and just kind of see your voyage and stick to it, even when it's tough. Because I now, after this is going on, it's like 7 years now, I am now seeing the change that I want it to be in. So I just say, people stick with it, whatever you do. So
now, when you wear the producer hat for Black Hollywood Live, talk about some of the job duties that you do for that.
So with Black Hollywood Live, as the executive producer for it, so it's kind of funny. I love telling the story about Black Hollywood Live because starting off, when the network first came out, we saw that there was a lack of content that was out there for African Americans, Latinos. If it wasn't BET, there wasn't a lot online. Unless you were Will Smith or Halle Berry, you weren't getting a lot of coverage. So obviously, with the platform that we have here at AfterBuzz TV, it's a great platform where people feel safe. They can come in, do interviews. People can come in and out. They love just the energy of the host. And with that, I realized with producing it that at the beginning, people were like, who, I would call and say, hey, I'd like to do the red carpet for the SAG Awards or for the Oscars. And they're like, who? Like, what's your, like, what? Black Hollywood Live, what? And then eventually, you have a breakthrough. And once that started, I started to see just the understanding, and people started to understand the need to have, diversity on those carpets. So that was, I feel blessed that I was able to kind of be a producer that helped kind of pave that way. And now I go to my email every day. It's people asking me all the time to do carpets and that kind of thing. So it's nice to kind of see that that change as a producer. So a lot of my daily tasks include producing new content and shows. I mean, we have roughly about 10 shows for Black Hollywood Live. Producing the content, helping the host create concepts, taking pitches, booking hosts for red carpets, booking myself for red carpets, finding, soliciting talent. So it's like all that is a part of the producing process.
When you go now, just switching over to your interviewing and your hosting, how did that transition for you? Like, where you saw growth on that, and like what kind of carpets have you had the opportunity to be on?
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing another show recently, and someone asked me like, "Who's your favorite interview?" Since you've kind of started and doing this, and I can honestly say, to answer, first to answer your question. The red carpets, I've seen the growth as far as like there's so many more opportunities with those. But when people ask me who's my favorite person to interview, I say Leonardo DiCaprio. At the SAG Awards, it was 2 years ago, and Leo was there. He had just won for The Revenant, like Best Actor. So it was in a room, because when you're hosting, you do the red carpets and usually let you in the press room. So it was right after the red carpet. We had gone in the press room. They bring up the talent who just won the awards. Leo was one of the people because he had just won The Revenant. We go in. I'm probably like fourth row in from Leo, and all these people are, these older reporters and just seasoned reporters are asking very technical questions about The Revenant, the bear, the cold, the working with Tom Hardy. And I was like, you know what, Leo, I grew up to Leo, I feel like he's a G. I felt like, that's how I felt like. I felt like Leo is like the type of dude I could just ask a regular question and he would answer the question. I know he's a music fan. At the time, he was rumored to be dating Rihanna. And I just wanted to turn to him and say, hey, listen, what song best describes your mood right now? Because it popped in my head because of the fact that, this is the time of this is your moment. Yeah. You just won the Best Actor. You got all the kudos that you've been working for. And so there's a person who walks around with the mics, as with those in those rooms, like for the press rooms. So they were like, last question. They were only letting like 8 questions in there. They were like, last question. My camera person at the time was like, you should ask this question. I'm like, I don't know. So I decided to do it. I stood up and I said, hey, Leo, my name is Daryl with Black Hollywood Live. I said, what you just won this award for Best Actor. What song best describes your current mood right now? And he looked at me for like 3 seconds. I actually thought I pissed him off, actually, because he looked at me. He's like, he put his hands up like here, he's looking. He's like trying to see because there's lights hitting him, and then he caught eyes with me, and he's like, wow. He was like, man, I can't even answer that. It's such a good question. He's like, I don't even know how to answer that. He's like, but I guarantee I will get you an answer before I leave tonight. And I'm like, okay, everyone in the room's looking at me like, who's this guy who just asked this question? He leaves. I'm thinking it's over with. I was happy with just getting a response from him like that. 5 minutes later, a person in a black tuxedo comes up to me and says, excuse me, are you Daryl? I said, yes. He said, hi, I'm Leo DiCaprio's publicist, and Leo wanted me to tell you his favorite song is A Lovely Day by Bill Weathers. And I was like, wow, so that was like that moment where I like to tell this story because it was that moment where I honestly, as a host and as a reporter and as a producer, I felt this made it worth it. Yeah. This is what it's for. When you get those moments, when you get those great interviews, when you get on those carpets where you're like, you realize how hard you've worked to get there, and you see the voyage, and that's what makes me happy as a producer and host and being a part of this team here and working with people like you.
I was with you that day on that carpet before, and I remember that night when you were like texting and you're like,
oh, that's right.
Yeah, and I was so proud of you and so happy for you, because that is it is, sometimes it's hard coming up with questions or trying to think of something that's going to be different or stand out. So like you nailed it that night. So that did have to feel so good.
It felt good, and also people ask me a lot of times, like hosts who are starting off, like how do they prepare for questions? And I know I'm sure you get this all the time. And one thing that I think Maria told us early on, or even we learned something in class as well, but always have 5 questions that you can ask that, obviously you got to do your research, because what people don't see is they look at our Instagram and they see us at these events and they think, oh God, you guys are living such this glamorous life, or you're doing all this fun stuff. But what they don't see is the night before or the day before of 6 hours or 4 hours, sitting there studying the craft and studying the people and looking at who got nominated. So when you are there and you get the opportunity to have someone big like a Leo or whoever it may be, you're prepared, because you don't want to be there and not prepared, because that's the worst, and I've seen that happen to people too, and I'm always like, I don't want that to be me. Everybody has their moments. It's not always going to be perfect, what is in life, but the fact that as long as you know you're prepared, it makes things a lot easier, and it helped me with my confidence with it. So
Yeah, for sure. If you're prepared, then you're more open to like be on the fly with things as well.
Exactly.
Don't you find? Like, yeah. All right, I want to also talk about, because one thing you do is you set yourself apart from everybody else on the red carpet with your fashion. So we pulled some photos of you from your Instagram with your fashion.
Oh, wow.
So we can just roll through them while you talk, but I just want to have you explain like your fashion choices and like what designers you like and how you go about picking your red carpet look.
Well, it's funny. I have always enjoyed fashion. I come from a family of just, you better make sure that your game is tight with your fashion gear. My mother and father are both very much into fashion, and I think that's helped me a lot. But with this, it was one of those things of, I was talking actually to Kevin Undergaro one day when I first was kind of starting here, and I used to wear bow ties a lot starting off. Remember that in class? So that was kind of like my signature look, because at that time is before I felt like bow ties kind of got oversaturated a little bit in the market. But I always say, find something that works for you, and then, just put a little extra spin on it. So, although I will wear bow ties, I may throw suspenders with it. I may do something, whatever, a jacket with it or something different. So, style is important because it also helps you stand out on the carpet. Because there's been plenty of times that I've been on a red carpet and I know someone specifically stopped me because stopped to talk to me because they said, I saw you, I love your jacket, or I love your shirt, or I love your bow tie. You seem interesting. They're talking to me, So that helps. So fashion definitely is there. My favorite designer, who I've been very lucky and blessed to he gives me a lot of jackets for the red carpets, is Mr. Turk. So most of the jackets that you see when they have all those colors in there and the different variations is Mr. Turk. And I'm one of those people, I'm kind of not afraid to try something different and stand out, even if it's like loud. Actually, I like being loud, because a lot of times when you go to red carpets, everybody's wearing the same thing. The guys are wearing the black tuxedos or a black suit. And that's great if that's your style. Me, I try and take it up a notch a little bit, and I think it's helped me.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, because I don't think before you've been on one of those carpets like that, like the SAG Awards we did together, it's such a sea of people that what you're doing is fantastic, because you pop, you can spot you like from
Listen, I'm a tall black man who's 6'2". When you're a tall black man and you're 6'2" and you're wearing a yellow jacket, someone's gonna notice you.
Handsome man, yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk. I think we have a few minutes left. I want to know who is on your hit list of people that like you haven't interviewed yet, that you're like, man, if I could get 2 minutes to sit down, or
Wow. Let's see. There's so many. Tom Hardy, Denzel Washington, Samuel. Well, I interviewed Samuel. It was on the red carpet, but I like a one-on-one with Samuel. I hate to say this, but the late Prince, that would have been like one of my ultimate interviews ever. But R.I.P. But who else? Jay-Z, Beyonce. I mean, that's like, who else do I just really love? Helen Mirren, I've seen her a lot on carpets like SAG, and we've seen her a lot like SAG and Oscars, and I've never had the chance to sit down with her. So she would be somebody I would love to just like talk about her longevity in her career. She's such a sexy woman. So it's like, how do you keep that going after all these years?
I think you just want to have a cocktail with her,
exactly.
Get some stories.
Right. Have some nice scotch and sit down with Helen.
For sure. There's your show, Scotch with Helen.
I like that. See, you heard it first. TomGirl, see? TomGirl TV. So those are probably like my top. I've been lucky in the sense of certain people I have, been able to meet through this industry and interview. But those are probably some other ones that I'd like to sit down with. I think those were, as far as like entertainment goes.
Is there an event so far that has been your favorite, or one that is still left on your list as well?
I'm still gonna go with the SAG Awards with the Leo thing. That's probably been my favorite. And then I know this is gonna sound really weird, but my favorite actual red carpet I ever did was Insidious 3, because they had gone all out with the creation and promotion of the actual red carpet. There was like ghost and fog, and this was at the Man's Chinese Theater, and it just, that was pretty cool. They had all kind of things going on there, and I'm a horror fan, so I think that also added to it. But probably that one, But as far as award shows, definitely the SAG Awards for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Well, real quick, each week we have a tradition here where we announce a TomGirl of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick before we come back to you for some advice for upcoming hosts. So we got to talk women's NCAA tournament champion. So Notre Dame, I don't know if you guys watched. If not, please go on YouTube and see these highlights. They are some of the most incredible basketball highlights you will see because Arika Ugunbawali, sorry, trying to get that name out. I mean, not just one buzzer-beating winning basket, but two back-to-back. One, I mean, to be able to say in your career you took down, UConn with your final shot, if that wasn't enough to say that you helped your team win the national championship with the buzzer-beating final shot in the championship game is amazing too. So you are our TomGirl of the week, and you had Kobe Bryant tweeting at you and everybody else in the whole sports world. So congratulations, it's incredible, and congratulations to the whole Notre Dame girls basketball team. All right, so back to you. So talk about maybe some lessons that you've learned over the years, or things that maybe surprised you about the industry that you didn't know, that you wish maybe you would have known earlier on, or any advice that might help some people out there wanting to do something like you're doing.
Well, I would say starting off, just once again, just do as many things as you can to get in front of the camera if that's what you want to do, and that's that's where you're at, because practice makes perfect. I mean, it's still a learning curve for me. I feel like a long way to go, but I also feel I've seen my growth, so I feel I have a lot more confidence now than I ever did, just because of those learning curves. So sit at home, get copy. If say classes are expensive. If you can't get into a class, you can go home and you can pull copy from TV shows and you can make a teleprompter right off of your computers and your phone and just read copy in the mirror for 5 minutes a day, because it will help you in the end. Write out interview questions, do mock interviews. I used to have my friends come over and do mock interviews. Remember, we used to have practice sessions where we would go to each other's houses and just do mock interviews. You got to do that because it's all going to help you in the end. I also go back to that 5-question thing. If you are doing a carpet, always have 5 questions that are general enough, but there's things that you can also twist with it and get more out of it, so your answers aren't the same from everyone. I would recommend that. I would also recommend just taking voiceover classes, like those type of things. Like that helps. And just kind of look and see who you like and admire, and create your own version of yourself from that. Because you can like Kevin Frazier is one of my biggest idols on TV. I look at him. I always wanted to be the first black guy in Entertainment Tonight. He's the first black guy, so he beat me. But it's okay. But I looked at him.
Second's still great. Second's fantastic.
Second still, I still can get in there with the second. If you're hearing me, Kevin. No, but you can actually learn a lot from just watching people that you admire. I look at Maria, and I've been lucky and blessed to have her not only as a business partner but also as a mentor. And I sit and watch her a lot of times. And I was, when I did the Oscars this year, true story, she was maybe 2 feet away from me doing her live remotes. I sat all my downtime and watched her, because I was just watching her technique. I was watching her confidence. I was watching what she was doing. You got to do that. That's how you learn. And it's an ongoing voyage. Don't get discouraged. I've gotten discouraged many times. There's many days I've been like, I'm moving back to Ohio. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm glad I didn't, because once again, you start to see it turns around eventually. In the way I always say this, the universe brings you exactly where you're supposed to be. It may not be what you think it's supposed to look like, but it will get you where you need to be. Some of this stuff I never visualized starting a Black Hollywood Live. I wanted to do one show, and it was Kevin and Maria who were like, no, you should build a network. So you just never know what it is that is going to lead you to great things. And also get mentors. Find somebody who kind of like you want to emulate as well, and if you can sit down and talk to them, do that as well, because that is getting advice is so key, because you can avoid a lot of things. Start a YouTube page too. I mean, do the general. That's general 101. Start YouTube pages and getting those, getting your personality of who you want to be as a correspondent, as a TV personality as a reporter. So those are all important things. That's it. That's a key advice I would start off with.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Would you also say, like finding those maybe smaller events that you would be interested in covering, like that, and then asking those people who maybe they don't normally have people covering, and reaching out to them and seeing if you could cover their events for free, and like start giving them some publicity.
Yeah, I mean, we have even here at AfterBuzz and BHL, a lot of the new hosts, you know, they start off at those smaller events, and then I've seen myself do it. I used to start off with smaller events, and now, you know, not everybody can start off at the Oscars, unfortunately, but it's okay, because when you do get there, you want to be able to be prepared for it. So start off at, you know, do free events. There's so many events that people have, and especially if you're in California and New York or even Chicago or some of the market, Atlanta, wherever. Just do smaller events. Do birthday parties. I did those. I've done bar mitzvahs. I've done friends' birthday parties. A friend of mine had a birthday party a couple of years ago and asked me to be an MC on her carpet for free. Sure, you know, and you learn, and you grow from that. So don't say no to a lot of things. Don't allow yourself to grow and get to where you need to be. I mean, yes, everybody thinks that they should automatically be on Entertainment Tonight, but it's a process to get there.
Agree. I definitely would agree with you, and I know we got to wrap. But the one thing I would add to that too is this fun thing about some of those smaller carpets, because I've done some for animals or rescue organizations. There's not as many people there. There's maybe 5 people on that carpet, so you do get big names that come in, and you actually get a chance to ask them questions, because if you're if you're just starting out and you're at the SAGs or somewhere, you might be way at the very end, and you might get a couple random people, so I think definitely don't poo-poo those sort of events, because you could get great access to people.
And then another thing is, because I know you got to wrap up, but this is something I actually, when you asked if wish I knew earlier on, I wish I knew this early on. I used to be so just I wanted everything to be so perfect. I wanted to have the perfect question. I wanted to have the perfect face when I asked a question. I wanted to have the perfect reaction. It doesn't happen like that. You got to be able to go with the flow. In fact, some of the imperfections are some of the things that make things great. And I've had that where I flubbed a word, but it's not about flubbing a word, because everybody flubs a word. The best do. It's about the recovery, and it's about how you come out of it. So always remember that. A lot of times we want to be perfect, but being perfect is sort of boring.
It is.
You know what I mean?
People can relate to you if you make mistakes.
And I make a lot of them, so.
Well, thank you so much. I love you so much. So thank you so much for coming on. And I can't wait to see you on Entertainment Tonight. And
somewhere.
Next. It's happening.
Yes.
All right. Tell everybody again where they can follow you at.
You can follow me at Daryl Christian on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also am on a show called Broken Famous on the Reels channel. You can catch me talking about TLC, 50 Cent, Tori Spelling. Just check your local listings, and I'm on there.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week, and can follow us all week at TomGirl TV. Bye.
Peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.